Good evening, everybody. My name is Nick Urban. I'm a software engineer and consultant, but as well as that, I was also a philosophy graduate student. So tonight, I'm going to talk to you guys about technology, the modern metaphysic. Any other humanities majors here? So what is metaphysics? Metaphysics is not something that involves crystal healing. Metaphysics is a branch of philosophy that asks the question, what does it mean for anything to be? Or what is everything in the world at the most fundamental level? This gentleman, Thales here, was one of the first early Greek metaphysicians. He thought everything was made of water. Today, I think people usually think everything's made of energy matter. But as well as this theoretical, like, the world is made of X, there's also a question of how do we engage with the world? What are our attitudes towards the world? What kind of perceptions do we have? And this is the practical level of metaphysics. When you go out into the forest, does the forest seem like a special place? I think for a lot of people it does. It used to be very common that there was a reverent or a mysterious or magical attitude about nature. There were fairies in the forest. There were gods on the mountaintops. Today we don't usually have that way of interpreting reality. Instead we have what the philosopher Martin Heidegger called the metaphysics of technology, which is a way of understanding the world as resources or as raw materials that can be used and turned to some gain. And one of the aspects of this technological understanding of being is that it commodifies everything. So instead of these particular trees in the forest, you end up with a pile of interchangeable 2x4s that you can use to build a building. And this strips all particularity, it takes some of the meaning out of those things, but it's also very powerful. So when you do this, you're treating everything in the world, perhaps subconsciously, but as a general attitude of society, treating things in the world as if they are simple tools, means, and not ends in themselves. And this lets you do a lot of things. It lets the Industrial Revolution happen. It allows you to, so let's see, that says standardization is powerful, if you can't read it. So it allows you to treat things that are different as if they're the same, and to replicate things that work in one place, like a hamburger restaurant, and copy it and dump it everywhere across the world. It's much easier. But people don't usually appreciate having this happen to themselves. They don't want to be the standard cog in the machine. They don't want to have a commodified life. So the question is, where does this stop? How do we preserve a sense of an unstructured experience? Now, when you're looking at your phone, one of the things to remember is, I like to think of it as a portable cubicle. The only things you can do in your phone are things that somebody else has programmed in advance. That means that you're not just having an open-ended contact with reality. And without that kind of open-ended contact with reality, life loses a bit of its color. The difference between being out in nature and just being struck by something beautiful, you're not going to have that experience in your phone, and you don't have it because the only things that can happen in your phone are things that were programmed in advance. Now this is why I think it's very important to use all this technology that we're using to structure our lives to actually program in some unprogrammed time. Use your scheduling application to make sure that you block off a weekend to go to the mountains. I know a lot of people here probably like to do that, right? So there's, with startups, when you guys are talking about disruption, disrupting a human process, and replacing it with an automated abstraction, that's what disruption usually means. Oftentimes it's a business process, not someone proposing marriage in this case, but I could imagine an app for proposing, couldn't you guys? So when we create a formalization, what are we leaving out? What are we leaving out? Usually what we're leaving out is this big open question, like if I'm just encountering a person or if I'm encountering reality and I can say, I don't know what's going to happen now, but that's a very important time. That's where poetry comes from and human connection. So are we saving a place for these unprogrammed connections, these unprogrammed interactions in our lives and in the tools that we build to structure the new world that's being created by technology? So one thing that Heidegger sometimes talks about is how in ancient Greece, the pinnacle of their technology was the Greek temple. But that was the thing that gave meaning to their entire society. It grounded their society in the place of this temple. Could we build something with technology that grounded our society in meaningfulness? I don't know. I like to think that we could, but I don't even know if anyone's working on that. Could we at least build lightsabers instead of jackhammers? I think that would be a lot cooler. Moreover, the lightsaber, for all the Star Wars fans here, right, it requires mastery and it requires presence. It's almost like a meditative martial arts kind of thing. So where do we save that space? And this is a very technological presentation right now. It's very structured. We have these 15-second slides, auto transitions. So my last thing that I want to do here is I'm going to try and practice what I'm preaching and just say hello. Hello. I don't know what happens now. This is the unstructured part. Thank you.